is to review the minutes from our last meeting. And Pete, distribute those to everybody. I mean, any questions on those minutes? All right. Hearing none, then I'd move to approve the minutes as submitted, and raise your hand if you're in favor. There you go. I don't know, Lisa. There, yes, she does. Oh, good. Okay. All right. So now, I mean, do you have, and hey, Patrick, welcome. I'm glad you it's nice of you to take the time to join us. We were circulated the application and materials about the project, photos and so forth. But is that something, oh, Gary, how good to see you. Great. Thanks so much for joining us. Excellent. Now we're full on board. Okay.
Great.
But do you have like materials that you'd care to share with us, or is that, how complicated is that?
For us to share this with you?
Yeah.
Sure. We have this. We've submitted our materials.
Yeah, we saw it. I've seen that. Yes, right. But I mean, if there's screen sharing, it might be nice to like refresh people and people who haven't, been here before.
Sure. I'm going to let Sean find the
Easy enough for me.
Sean, I see why you're here. Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
Excellent.
There we go. All right.
And again, the address we're talking about is it's 8 Mackinac Terrace. Is that right?
It is 8 Mackinac Terrace, yes, and it's. I mean, the reason we're filing the application for demolition is because the building is over 50 years old. It's in accordance with Article 22 of the Town of Stockbridge bylaws. And since it's being recorded, I'll just introduce myself, even though my name appears. I'm
Sure.
Andrew Hochberg. I represent Matt Derris and Shani Porras. They are the owners of 8 Mackinac Terrace, and their intention is to demolish the structure of approximately 864 square feet, I should say, and rebuild and bring it up to modern standards.
Yeah. May I ask how long the Derris family have had the house?
Less than a year, is that right, Matt? Matt, you can.
Sure. Yeah, no, it's actually been 3 years.
3 years. Oh my God.
3 years.
Time
So
flies.
So you've had it. So you've had a chance to get to know it.
That's right. Yeah.
And I believe, I don't remember, Pete, maybe you have that in front of you. I mean, what year we were saying that house was probably built?
It's 1962, according to the assessor's
It's
code.
on the
Oh
property,
gosh.
which you did also provide. There you go. Yep, 1962.
1962.
Oh well, I just had my birthday.
Me too.
I'm now eligible for consideration.
For demolition.
I've gotten my booster already, so I've been considered.
Okay. Yeah, but my recollection in the photographs is that, like, it's nothing much to write home about. But I mean, did Chantal and Gary, I know Pete did, get a chance to take a look at the pictures of the house. It's pretty.
We're going to put that up on the screen right now.
Oh, great. Okay.
And needless to say, there's nothing in the historical commission records about the house.
Yeah.
The
Oh, there it
assessor's
is.
card
That's-
indicates it was built as a camp.
Yeah.
It looks like a camp. It's on posts and
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're really just about existing structures, so it was good to see the proposed plan for the lot. That's always helpful. How does that, but that really becomes more of a matter for special permitting from,
Correct.
planning board, select board. I'm not even precisely sure, whose jurisdiction comes up next.
That's a select board.
It's the select board. And is there any issue with Lake and Pond Overlay District there for the planning board?
No, I don't believe there
Not
is.
that we're aware of, no, and I think they just got approved for the stormwater.
Yeah.
Permit also. Brent White from White Engineering has been spearheading that portion of the project for Matt and Shani.
Okay.
Brent and I and Sean have been working together on that. So yeah, as far as those other issues, the environmental issues, the setback issues, etc., we're addressing those before the appropriate board, select board for the special permit.
And just out of curiosity, I mean, how does the terrain work with, I believe there's like a garage or a basement or something like that, proposed, with a foundation there. Is that like sort of dug out into this space here, or how does that work?
It will be dug out. So the garage will be underneath that, partially underneath the house.
Right.
And as you're looking at, and if I can, the approach here, correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, but I think the approach here will be excavated, brought down, and so the entryway will be in this area here into the garage, and this grade will be brought down. There's no ledge there to be concerned about.
And how far are we actually from the lake there?
Mackinac Terrace is in front of the house, and then there's a row of houses in front of us.
Oh, okay. So it's not like lake frontage there. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, Matt, as far as the view of the lake, particularly in the winter, I wasn't there in the winter season. Can you see the lake from the house in the winter? And Matt?
Yeah, you can. Yeah. So basically there's the lake, there's a lot of similar depth to ours with a house on it. And then there's our road, and the slope that you can see where the house is on continues to roll down towards the lake. So as you can imagine, the floor of that deck there would be at about the height of the roof of the house that's across the street from us, roughly speaking. So as the trees lose their leaves and whatnot, we have a much better view of the lake at that point.
Yeah. Well, I'm just going to say, and this is totally, like I say, it's not really our, the board, this board's purview at all. Though as I've said already, I appreciate you sharing your plans. I'm a little concerned for your plans going forward that the overall height of the building is too great. And that is something that has been a more complicated subject in Stockbridge than I think it should be. It's like, where do you start measuring a building and so forth? But it just looks to me that it's well over like the 35-foot town limit. But I mean, again, we're not talking about that really. I just wanted to give you kind of heads up, because it's
I appreciate that. Brent and I have discussed that, and we are within the 35 feet from the existing grade. We are not within the 35 feet from the excavated lower grade if we put the garage in. But
I've said this before, and I'll say it again, but there needs to be, as part of the Stockbridge planning bylaws, like a graph or something like that about how you measure the height of a building and like, what is that? I mean, yeah, Patrick.
I would just suggest that you talk to Ned at the building inspector and just clarify it, and we, speaking for myself anyway, not for my board, we certainly take his advice, as well as Michael Canales and our town council. It's pretty cut and dry. If he says it's okay,
I think Ned is very cautious about like measuring heights of buildings, actually. He's been down that road many times before, and I don't know. I'll go back and take a look at it for the planning, but the parameters are not as clear as they could possibly be, so.
Brett White has spoken with Ned about that also, so.
Okay.
We're cognizant of the issue, and
Yeah.
we also, if we have to, we have some flexibility there as well.
All right. Great. Well, I don't
Carl,
know.
can you hear me?
Yeah. Oh, yes. Hi, Gary.
Hi. I just had one question. Do we know who the previous owner of this house was?
Yeah, it was the Panasevich family. They built the cottage back in 1962.
Oh,
Got it.
all right. And I'm sure they had illustrious lives that are commemorated in song and story. But apart from that, I don't know. I mean, does anyone have any particular concerns about the, historic, significance of this building? Because that's really why we're here.
I will make a motion that it's not a significant historic building.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Well, that's what we do. So, anyway, yeah, no, so you're clear to go ahead with the demolition plans, and then, wish you best of luck in terms of, getting something, more desirable in its place,
So what you're saying is we're now, we can go ahead and get rid of our roof, but we should keep on hoping that we can get a new one.
Yeah, I think something like that. Okay.
It's been a pleasure chatting with you today.
Yeah. Well, listen, thank you. Oh my gosh. 15 minutes. We did pretty well, and we approved the minutes.
Well, that's
No complaint.
absolutely right. So
Okay. Any new business? In the absence of Pam Sandler, who is the vocal party, it might be safer for me to mention the fiasco that I oversaw or was supposed to have overseen with the St. Paul's Church rectory siding project, which kind of obliterated a bunch of 18th century trim with vinyl siding. And like, first of all, I'm on this committee. Secondly, I'm on the St. Paul's Church Building Committee. Thirdly, I knew that this was coming down the road. And then when it actually happened, I wasn't here. I ended up actually calling Ned at one point because Pam was freaking out because she looks at that building, which dates back to the 1790s and is a kind of a charming federal fixture on federal era fixture on Main Street, and it may even be older. It was moved there, but anyway, so that anyway, what can I say? I mean, it's just
Hey,
like,
Carl, can I just interject for 1 second? Just to let Andy and Matt know, they don't have to stay. They're
oh,
welcome.
no, you don't have to stay unless you're interested. We're not gonna be talking about this for a long
You
time.
won't be insulted if you.
Peter,
Anyway,
again, it was a pleasure.
yeah, okay, absolutely. Yeah,
Thanks for the time today.
thanks a lot.
Bye now.
Anyway, yeah, so
That's
So the-
discouraging. Yeah.
it is, it just like, I knew it was happening. They had done a pretty good job on the parish house, and I never even noticed that it happened, frankly. And so then I kind of thought, oh, it's okay, well, maybe if this happens here, but we don't, I mean, by rights, Ned should have stopped it because we and sent it for review and discussion because it affected more than 500 square feet of the building. I mean, and that's measured like not only in plan, but also, vertically. So, we ought to have had a conversation about it, which is something I'm sorry about, just didn't somehow catch it. Anyway, now it's mostly done. I have a lot of photographs and a plan to draw up for the church. I mean, the trim was like very little, but they were little corner boards, you know, and there was some, you know, there was a little bit of elaboration with the moldings and the little capitals on the pilasters and the
Is it
corners.
in the dumpster? Is it like in a dumpster right now?
Yeah,
or is it-
I fished some of it out from the dumpster,
Yeah, I
actually, as
would.
well as the shutters.
Maybe recreate it
uh,
on the piece.
Yeah, the shutters are currently in a horror film out in not near Boston. But I guess they were in pretty beat shape. I mean, but the plastic ones are not an improvement.
Did they put up plastic shutters?
Oh, yeah. No. I mean, this is so sad because you drive, because I walk up and down Main Street and I see, you know, some of the things projects we've talked about. I don't know, the house just down the street from me, you know, is being fixed up very nicely, and they're putting up new siding, and I know they've changed the windows a little bit, but they added a cute porch, and it looks great, and it looks just like that house should. And then, you know, then this historic Main Street sort of, you know, I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure if I go quite so far as landmark, but it's like definitely a piece of the furniture, you know, that it just gets like, you know, wrapped up in plastic and there we go.
Yeah.
So anyway, what can I basically, first of all, I'm saying mea culpa.
Well,
I should have caught it.
well,
But then I think, you know, gosh, I said I was going to do this, but I have to write a note to Ned just to clarify. It's like, you know, siding counts, you know, if we're going to do a siding project, because he was sort of the position, which I don't entirely blame him for, just like, you know, it's like, oh, siding, you know, it's siding, like everyone does it. But, you know, it depends on, I mean, we're supposed to be kind of, you know, a filter here for like things that like might not be successful. So
Yeah, I mean, when in doubt, he should send it to us, not, you know, decide for
when in
himself.
doubt, exactly, right, and not just like sign off.
And he should have sent it to us. So, you know, I think, right. So I think we just have to all learn and, but yeah, get something on the record with him.
Yeah,
So
and I've talked to the contractor and I've talked to the minister and Ned, to his credit, stopped the project. I did not realize that this was something that I could do, was like pick up the phone, and Ned said, "You want me to stop work?" Okay. And we did for a hot minute, but then it's just like, oh, you know, I mean, 5 minutes later, my you know, Sam Smith, the minister's on the phone with me, and I go, this can't happen. We have to get this done. So I don't know. I just, but I think there's a way that we could, you know, as the church organization, working with the contractor, sort of recreate some of the, you know, some idea of the historic features that like were what you would actually notice from the street, because the siding is the siding, whether it's plastic or what, you know, it's there. But anyway,
that could happen. And you know, and frankly, and I mean, maybe you have to say this unofficially to Ned, but my God, if it's a 18th century building on Main Street, you know, I mean, when in doubt, you should definitely send it to us.
it does seem like something we would want to keep our eyes on. I don't know, just
it's a lack of judgment on his part, I would say.
whatever. Well, and I'm not even sure, you know, how, but there was application made and it was approved and so forth. So I don't know. I mean, I think some steps of the process took place, but you know, it's you know, we'll have to keep our eyes open. Anything else? Any thoughts? Or, you know, I mean, that was my little confession or whatever it is. So
yeah, well, I think we
have
just
done we have done what we ought not to have done, and we have left undone those things which we ought to have done.
guilty.
Yeah.
I think it would be great if someday we put together a list of all the non-structural historic things like, you know, horse troughs and bridge foundations. And is that
Really?
somewhere? Maybe
No.
that.
I don't know. I mean, Pete, is that like part of the Mass Historic Survey or?
Yeah, I mean, some of those are in the Mass Historic Surveys. Are you familiar with MACRIS, Chantal? MACRIS. It's the acronym.
No.
So if you just Google MACRIS, I think it'll come up. It's short for Massachusetts Cultural Resource Information System or something like that. And so what's in there is the Mass Historical Commission chronicles, admittedly with help from the towns, but a lot of good work was done in Stockbridge over the years. So it includes not just buildings, but things like fountains and so forth. And you can do searches when you can screen for just things as opposed to buildings.
And our poor troubled bridges. Patrick, were you wanting to say something?
Yeah, the last paragraph of section 6 of the historic preservation bylaw
Yes.
says you can institute any and all actions in law or equity as they may deem necessary and appropriate to obtain compliance with the requirements of this article. I think that may give you the right to write regulations. You might check on that. But I think this is a good example of where regulations that were more specific in terms of the parameters around things like siding and shutters might have helped you ensure that there was compliance with the spirit of the law. Whereas the way the bylaw is written may be vague to some, from what you're indicating was the reaction to siding, for example.
Yeah. Well, we have very little direction in the bylaw, kind of on purpose. It's meant to be, kind of streamlined and quick. And in terms of specifics, I mean, at the time that the bylaw was being discussed and was then passed, there was definitely a feeling, I think, that people did not want to be told what color to paint their house, what kind of siding to put on their house, what kind of roofing, I mean, some of these sort of more fine-grained, things that happen in, places like Nantucket or the Cape, or, I mean, we're more easygoing about it. And the fact of the matter is that, one of the charms of this town is that it is eclectic, it's kind of like mixed up. Yeah, Peter.
So, yeah, I mean, I've got the bylaw language here too. You're quoting correctly, Patrick. But I feel like this wasn't that unclear. I mean, I think Patrick makes a good point that maybe we need to clarify some things with the building inspector, but 2.7 says substantial alteration is any alteration of a significant historic building that A, requires a building permit, B, alters 500 square feet or more of the building exterior, or increases the square footage by more than 500 square feet. So clearly, if somebody's putting more than 500 square feet of siding on a building, that is altering the exterior.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Well, we got it. And Patrick, just so you I mean, you might not have been around when we were doing this, but we were having a whole thing about like a solar array across from town hall that, like, it turns out it appears to be invisible, but and no one's noticed it at all. But I believe it was over 500 square feet, and we
That's
just
right. Yeah,
had
they
like
came to us because it was a 500 square foot worth of solar panels.
yeah, and we didn't have a whole heck of a lot to say about it, but we did talk about it. I don't know. I mean, it's when someone's altering the sort of the envelope of a building, if you will, rather than kind of like the whole floor plan, it's been a thing where I think, as Pete points out, it's like pretty clear in the bylaw, but I think some of that stuff sort of sails through. So
We lose like Edwards House in the last 60 years. I think we've lost a lot of significant 18th century buildings on Main Street, really in modern times, in our lifetimes. I think
yeah.
I completely agree with you, Carl, that we should do whatever we need to clarify that that's not okay.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean,
So yeah, Carl, why don't you, I mean, if you want to like maybe put your ideas in writing and the commission could approve it.
exactly. And we could do a little draft. Just, I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be
I
more
think
than
that
a
would be good.
paragraph.
Then it would have
Yeah,
the whole
I don't
commission.
I don't need to go scolding Ned, but I do want to make sure that like we're kind of on the same page. And I think that, you know, the way you put it was good, which is, if you're in doubt, like, that's why we're here. It's like, if there's any kind of question, then like, let's talk about it,
Yeah, I
So-
mean, with Zoom meetings, it doesn't take us that long. I mean, I actually am planning to, and I recently put new wooden shingles on my house, replacing the old wooden shingles, but we
Oh my
need a building permit. And so who knows, maybe once we do this, Ned will say, well, Williams, you have to get the HPC's permission, but big deal. So we'll have a Zoom meeting and we can approve it in 5 seconds.
There you go. Exactly. No, I mean, all right, well, at least, yeah, what's that?
But a lot of these things in town, we debate for a long time and town approves it and lawyers review it and the attorney general looks at it. This is something where in 2 hours of time, a structure that's stood for nearly 250 years can be destroyed. Or at least historically altered beyond recognition. And I think that because of that, you guys avoiding scolding or whatever cannot be the primary objective here. It has to be to clarify this so it doesn't happen.
Yeah, no, exactly. This should not have happened with that discussion. So, anyway, but I didn't want to just pretend that nothing happened. But I mean, I don't know, is there any further, does anyone else want to talk further, or, you guys want to go and like start making dinner ready?
We're good.
All right.
I
Thank you
move
for
we adjourn.
listening to me. Thank you for coming. I'll second that. All in favor? Aye. Can we adjourn without a quorum, or do we have to stay here?
I think we're gonna adjourn. Well,
They left already.
consented.